Welcome to the voice of St. Anthony Parish from Allston, Massachusetts, right here on WROL, 950 AM, 100.3 FM. You can also hear us at CatholicAudiomedia.com. That's CatholicAudiomedia.com, where we're continuing our interview with Tom Corcoran and talking about his book, Messages of Light for Advent and Christmas, and the Rebuild movement he's part of. You can learn more about it and see it in action at churchnativity.com. That's churchnativity.com. So we're talking about how people react to technology, and we continue with how the technology he uses is part of the liturgy, is accepted by people, and where it goes from there. So let's switch over to our interview now. Now, did you have any criticism from people who lean more towards things being more traditional?
Definitely at first. I mean, and I think definitely at first, I think our culture has adapted now that the people who come to our church know what they're getting. Now, there's someone who might show up on a Sunday or a weekend and see that and be kind of thrown off by it. And I think sometimes they're just shocked by it and then they adjust, and sometimes they're just shocked by it and walk away and don't like it. But even now, I mean, we have a pretty sophisticated technology of lighting equipment and sound equipment. And even our director, the weekend director, is Brian Crook. And Brian says, I try to turn up the volume a little bit on things, either literally on the music or add new lighting pieces. But I try to do it just a little bit, because if I add too much, it'll shock even our community that's used to it. So there does have to be a prudence, I think, in where a community is and how you introduce these elements. And then knowing that when you do, no matter any little change, right, someone's going to be possibly upset by it.
Sure, absolutely. So when you're putting together the messages, do you plan as a team, or does Father Michael do this on his own?
So we do this as a team. So we have, we invite in, people like, we have a communications director, so she's part of it. We have some people on our audio visual team. We do try to bring in our youth minister, our director of student ministry, just to be a voice for students, and probably a couple other voices. And we do a brainstorming session about, and before that we've had some ideas already, but about what our community needs to hear in the year ahead, what's going on in people's lives, what goals we have for the church, and then what are just some creative ideas we've gotten from other parishes, other churches, other books we've read, what are scripture passages that we're hearing, and kind of all that goes in, and then we discern from there themes for the year that we choose, usually in 4 to 6 weeks. And then after that, again, we begin this process of trying to keep distilling down what we're going to talk about each and every single week.
So we don't have a collection of 3 years of sermons that we use every 3 years.
No. So, I mean, I think as a church, you're going to have, we talk about steps at our church that we want people to take, steps of discipleship. So we're going to hit on those things all the time. And I think there's some themes we need to come back to over and over again. But no, we do try to be creative and having a few people in there helps with the creativity. We just did a series on expectations recently, and that was Daniel, our student minister's idea. So, that's where I think having a few different people helps with building the creativity.
So then do you have a goal? Like, for example, this year we want people to be more greater disciples, or this year we want people to be more ready to go out and speak of their faith to others. Do you have like a goal like that when you put all this together?
It's in the background, but if I'm honest, it's not always so tight. I think that should be exactly. So we talked about a little bit the year of this. We started out talking about service as a theme for this year and doing a couple different series on it. And then for different reasons, it kind of blew up and it didn't work out for us to be able to go that direction. But one of the things, we're in a series right now we're calling Why We're Weird. And
I saw that, yes.
Yeah, and so that came out of, that idea came up. We said, look, a lot of people have joined our church from online as a result of COVID. We felt a little bit in our church that some of the key things that made us tick and made us grow were getting a little bit lost, that maybe people were losing the why behind the what. And so kind of that feeling of where we were like, well, this idea of like, let's do a series about why we do what we do. And then it became why we're weird, to kind of have some fun with it, poke fun of ourselves a little bit, but also it's affirming to our community. We know you've chosen this church, and it's very different from other Catholic parishes. And so we're kind of acknowledging that and celebrating that together as well.
What is your demographic, basically, that attends the church or that you know are connected to the parish?
I think we have a pretty wide demographic. So we are in 21093 of Timonium, which doesn't mean anybody listening to this, but it's a suburban area. Housing prices are, it's not a starter house community. It's people probably who have definitely moving into their second home. So it's going to tend to be more family oriented in that sense. We're not going to have as many 20-somethings, but we do have that community. We do have, I would say, again, span the generation. I think one of the things we do try to focus on is we have to be reaching the next generation. That as we see people checking out of faith, if we don't reach the next generation, we need to be focused on that. So I think we're pretty intergenerational overall.
No, I could see that. And again, you're. I mean, I'm a baby boomer, so I come from that perspective, and you can see how you're reaching out to a younger audience that understands the technology, but we, as the older baby boomers, understand to a point, and then they are reaching out to another audience that's understanding a newer technology as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think, partly we're all in this world, right? We're all, whether you're a baby boomer or Gen Z, or I don't know what the next whatever they call the next generation coming up. We're all in this world of technology being around us all the time, so we can all understand that. Excuse me. Some of the people I love the most is when we do find people who are baby boomers or older generation loving what we're doing, even loving the music that's contemporary worship music. I love that. Again, we are seeing that, and then of course we do see people liking what we're doing. We had somebody come down from Philadelphia just a couple weeks ago, and I was talking to the mom, and she said, my son said, he's in 6th grade, can we come down here every single week? So you just love hearing that people of all generations, again, are enjoying the experience, and we try to create something that is going to connect with everyone. And I think when you get to the gospel, it is universal. It speaks to every human heart.
Maybe I should tell you a little story you might appreciate, because the Brazilians, as I say, have a very similar, their network does something very similar, and they were very much into technology. And of course, they run a whole television network that is all over the world. And one of the fascinating things is this is in the early days of cell phone cameras, and the Pope Benedict came here to the United States. So they sent reporters up from there because they have a news show, and the reporters used their cell phone to literally beam the whole scene back down to Brazil. And I had never seen that before. And I'm a veteran, and I'm looking at this going, can you even do that legally in this country? I had never seen that before, which obviously you could. And that's something I find, you're doing the same thing. You're on the front lines of technology and the faith at the same time, and you're melding the two together.
It's a very interesting story. And I think, again, I can understand why some people say, well, people need a break from technology. And, and certainly we do. We need to encourage people to have silence and times of quiet. But again, one of our main things too is to try to reach people that we say we want to be a church that people who don't like church like, that we want to be a church where someone's coming back to, and even have a reputation in our community. People will hear somebody wanting to go back to church and they say, well, don't come to my church, but check out Nativity. And so, again, it's a way to engage, and I think it's a way to creatively communicate the gospel. As long as we're doing it wisely. So that we are trying to be on cutting edge on that.
You're listening to the voice of St. Anthony Parish from Allston, Massachusetts, right here on WROL, 950 AM, 100.3 FM. We'll be back more and hear more from Tom tomorrow in our final part of our interview. And, of course, you can find more at churchnativity.com. And the book is Messages of Light for Advent and Christmas 2022. Messages of Light for Advent and Christmas 2022 by Michael White and Tom Corcoran. In the meantime, have yourself a blessed day. And as I said, we will see you tomorrow or at CatholicAudiomedia.com. Don't forget to check that out, CatholicAudiomedia.com. You can now leave a message for us, which we can air and discuss on this program. Just call 617-297-7452. That's 617-297-7452. 617-297-7452. Feel free to call, leave a comment, a question, or even feedback, and we may play it on the air. I can discuss your comment or question as well, so give that a try. 617-297-7452, 617-297-7452. I want to call your attention to Catholic TV, which offers great faith-filled, family-friendly programming 24 hours a day. You can find your cable channel at www.getcatholictv.com, and you can watch online on the free apps or check out the YouTube channel. Daily Mass, Rosaries, the Divine Mercy Chaplet, and the Our Lady of Perpetual Help Novena are all available online and on demand. Check out CatholicTV.com. If you would like to support our program, please consider a donation to St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts. There are several ways to consider this. One is to purchase any of our merchandise, which you can find at the shopping tab at CatholicAudiomedia.com. That's CatholicAudiomedia.com. There are coffee mugs there. There's also my latest book, Encounter Christ in Your Humanity, all of which you can find at the shopping tab at CatholicAudiomedia.com. You can also donate to the show directly through either the Donate tab, also at CatholicAudiomedia.com, or by sending a donation through the U.S. Postal Service with your questions and comments at 43 Holton Street, Allston, Massachusetts, 02134. That's St. Anthony Parish, 43 Holton Street, Allston, Massachusetts, 02134. Finally, the best way you can support our parish is to attend Mass on Sundays at 10 o'clock and be a part of our parish. We thank you for any support you would like to give to St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts, the sponsoring parish for this media outreach to Catholics and other Christians in the WROL, WEZE, and podcast listening audience. In Cristo vivimos.